Today's guest is someone who's, not just navigating the chemical industry, he's actively reshaping it. A New Orleans native and Tulane grad, Jeremy Luth brings more than 25 years of experience to the table, with time spent in research on the executive level, and now as founder leading real change in the chemical industry. In 2017, he launched Neptune, which became the leading provider of corrosion inhibitors for coiled tubing across the Americas, holding over 70% market share today. And in 2024, he took things even further by launching Nomad Chemical, an agile cross-industry, multiple verticals, operations spanning oil and gas, renewables to water treatment and more.
Nomad Chemical also happens to be the sponsor of this show, Power Play. And today we're going straight to the source. We're talking ethics, innovation, the illusion of value in chemical cells, and why service, not the product, is the real battlefield. He's got patents, unfiltered stories, and a vision of what the future of industrial chemistry should actually look like. Jeremy, we are so excited to have you today. Welcome to Power Play.
Thank you for having me. This is going to be a great time. I'm excited, and let's get it on.
Perfect. Well, so Jeremy, let's start from the top. You are a New Orleans native and a Tulane grad, but how did you get pulled into the chemical world in the first place?
That it goes back to my dad. My dad was he had a pump company in Kenner, Louisiana, which is right outside New Orleans. And he would drill water wells, or he had companies that he worked with that would drill water wells, and they would come to us and say, "Hey, we got water that smells funny, or what, for whatever reason." And my dad would come to me and go, "Well, you like chemistry, how do we take care of it?" And it was just one of those things where, at the time, I would just do a little bit of research and found that I just kind of fell in love with it. I mean, I thought it was really neat to understand how chemistry works and what makes a bond, or why it does what it does. It was something intangible. You put your finger in it, you don't know exactly what it is, and I was fascinated by the science, and I said, you know what, that's something that I want to learn more about, and that's what I did, and it's just snowball effect of gone down the road, and now here I am with what I have,
Yeah, and so kind of started just kind of giving the family roots, but I can't help but wonder, before you were building multi-continental level companies, what was the weirdest job you had?
Oh, I worked at Gemstone.
Gemstone.
It was Gemstone. It was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and it was what do you call that damn stuff? Like decorative stone. Like if you want to make a walkway to your front door. And it popped up in the paper, and I said, you know what, I need a job while I'm in school, and it's summertime. And I remember because I shaved my head, and then I got sunburned, and then everybody thought that I had real bad dandruff for 2 weeks. But it was it was terrible. I mean, you'd run away from me. But it was it was really neat. And what was funny about it is that one of the first customers that I was helping was a geologist. And he was pointing out certain things in the rock. And I said, okay, so why does that matter? And he says, well, you could have had, organic matter right here that settled right here. And this is what creates a reservoir. And this is what, this is what makes oil or natural gas or something like that. And and it just, that just kind of got me to thinking that, well, wow, that's pretty cool. Something, I said, so how old do you think this little fossil is in this rock? And he goes, probably 40, 50 million years. And you kind of think to yourself, holy shit, you're looking back 50 million years. It's not like you're looking back 10 years at family photos. This is I mean, before the human species was around, here I am looking at something that was left behind. So yeah, that was the weirdest job, was Gemstone Company. Yeah.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. Okay, so every founder, at least that I've known, has had sort of like a fake it until you make it moment in their journey. So I'm curious, do you have any times when you had like no idea what you're doing, but you're like, we're gonna make it. Like we're gonna find a way, and you figured it out anyway.
Neptune. When I started Neptune in 2017, I had never been a small business owner before. I had never been, the top dog of the company before. And I remember opening up the Chase bank account and going with $1,500 because that was the minimum to have a business account. And I was like, this is blood money. I'm like, I better make it, because if I don't, I'm going to have an angry missus at home and two kids that are going to want to punch me. But I've never done it before. It's something that they should teach in school. It really is something that they should teach in school, is entrepreneurship, and they don't do that. They rather focus on, ancient history from, 10,000 years ago or something. But I think what they should really do is focus on things that are pertinent now. And that was my fake it moment, was to go to people and go, oh yeah, Neptune, I know how to do this. I've been CEO before, which I hadn't. I've been business owner before, which I hadn't. I just kind of followed my dad's coattails. And I would call him daily and go, did I do this right, or did I do this wrong? And he would say, well, you can kind of, change the verbiage a little bit. He goes, but I know how you get a little bit, wild and crazy sometimes. But that was it. I mean, it was, once that happens, once you do it, it sticks with you. And you're going to make mistakes. The question is, how do you bounce back from them? And that was the fake it moment, when I went and met with the first client in a coffee shop and sat across the table from him, and I said, oh yeah, I've been doing this for years. And I'm thinking, oh gee, I hope he doesn't know that I'm full of it, but,
it worked
we've
out.
done very well. Yeah. Yeah. And I just carried that on and carried it on forward.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so, taking that leap of faith, I think a lot of people kind of have that anxiety around doing that. Sometimes it's tough to kind of leave that cush corporate job. But, to your point, the life of an entrepreneur is just about persistence, right? And grit. And so, you got to be able to bounce back.
You got to take the chance. You got to take the chance.
You miss every shot you don't take, right? And so we're going to make mistakes, and being comfortable with that. So, I'm just, how do you think back, like looking back on it, what's a failure, that you've had that, today you're weirdly grateful for now?
Oh, getting fired.
Okay. Let's unpack that a little bit.
Getting fired. I've been fired twice. I was fired from a polymer company, because they didn't like how aggressive I was being.
Aggressive how?
Aggressive in the sense that, hey, we got to get this shit done. It's got to get done. Okay. All right. I mean, we need to innovate. We need to put money into R&D, or we're just going to sit here and, sell horse carriages for the rest of our lives. What was the saying? I forgot who it was. It said, we don't need cars. We just need faster horses, or something along those lines, when they were.
Oh, it was Henry Ford. Right? He said, if I asked him what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Right. And he invented the automobile. That's what I think. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Because I forgot I shouldn't have forgot who it was, but yeah, it's that kind of thing. Is that innovation takes effort. It takes money. It takes effort. It just takes determination. And, I was at this polymer company, and I explained to them, and they didn't like it. And, they told me to hit the road. And I just said, why are people like this. And then later on, I got fired from my second company, who is now one of my competitors, but that's kind of funny. That's another story for another day. But in both instances, I came out with a solution that superseded both of them. And it was that chance that I took and the determination just to say, hey, look, y'all were wrong for doing that. Watch what I'm going to do. And, it kind of lit a fire under my ass. I just took it and ran with it. And just did it.
It's funny you say that, Jeremy, because, as we think about world needs more entrepreneurs and stuff, I don't think there's ever been a better motivator for entrepreneurs than spite, doing something in spite of, what this person said or what someone thinks we can do. Spite tends to be a great motivator.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like it has been for you as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, you don't like being told, oh, you're doing it the wrong way. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years goes past, and then oh, yeah, well, maybe you did do it the right way. You ever thought about merging? And I'm like, no.
Nope.
You ever thought about acquiring us? I'm like, nah.
Technically, we were merged, and then you guys fired me, so no, we're no longer merged now.
So,
right.
No, and we're never getting back together, ever.
Right. It's kind of like a bad date, And, so it was,
man.
But it was a great experience. At the time, it was terrible because you think that there's no future. Like you just go, oh, I got a family to support. I have all this stuff going on. And then nowadays it's, I wish it would have happened more often almost, because of what it does to right here. It gets you fired up and you go for it. You go for gold.
I love that. I kind of want to jump into the companies that you founded. So in 2017, you started Neptune. And then in 2024, you launched Nomad Chemical. So I'm curious, what was the turning point that pushed you to start each of these companies?
So the Neptune in 2017 being fired. Mm-hmm. And I was at a golf course, and they were having a company event. And one of the guys I knew, his name's Josh, comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, how you been? I haven't seen you in a while." I said, "I'm doing fine, and just trying to find out the next chapter." And he says, "Are you still in the coil tubing world?" And I said, "No, not that much." He goes, "You need to get back into it because we're having a lot of problems." And I said, "What kind of problems?" He goes, "Strings are popping left and right." And I said, "From what?" And he goes, "Corrosion." And I said, "Well, yeah, but I thought the other company had already figured it out." And he just kind of rolled his eyes and shook his head. And I went, "All right, now this is a problem that needs to be fixed." And so that was Neptune. And Nomad, I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, "We have this problem." I just had somebody the other day call me up about slop oil. And they're like, we're having a problem with getting the most out of the slop oil. And I said, "Well, what do you mean getting the most out of it?" And we need to break the tight emulsion, and we're using this product. And I looked at the product and I went, "Well, all you're trying to do is get iron out of your oil." I said, you're not demulsifying anything. And they said, then, hey, fix it for us. We need this because we're collecting sometimes 500 to 1,000 barrels a week of slop oil cleaning. They do tank decontamination in the Permian, and they said, we would like to be able to sell it because the people just say, just keep it, just clean out the tank. And I went, well, hell, yeah, I can do that. I mean, that's easy. And then I had the saltwater disposal company, we're scaling up and we don't know why. And come to find out, it wasn't all scaled. Some of it was dithiazine, because dithiazine is a byproduct of using H2S scavengers. It was just the idea of all these people coming to me, knowing that, hey, here's this chemical guru. What can you do? And one day I just found myself going, I'm all over the place now. I'm wandering around like a nomad to all these different industries, asking for chemical products. Like I was in Canada, Canria. The guy comes up to me and he goes, hey, we have a de-icing problem on our solar panels. And I said, well, just put a hydrophobic coating on there. And he goes, well, I don't even know what that is. I went, oh, I can make that for you. And so I just found I was like a wanderer, going through all these industries with different chemical technologies, and I just said, hey, look at that. I feel like a nomad, and there's Nomad Chemical.
So a lot of kind of like different people coming to you, different problems, probably just based off like the trust and the track record that you had, built to that point. Mm-hmm. And sounds like Nomad spans oil and gas, petrochemicals, water treatment, renewables. Beyond like just the market coming to you, was there anything around like, what had convinced you maybe that the future of chemicals wasn't kind of staying in one singular swim lane and one vertical, like we see a lot of different companies, focusing on, and being a little bit more open to different verticals, different problems, and things of that nature?
Well, I don't think every chemical company can do that. I mean, some of them are committed to certain spaces, of course. If you're a nitrogen and phosphate company, you're going to stay in the agricultural space, or if you're a polymer company, you're going to stay in the polymer business. It's you have to be very nimble, and a lot of these larger companies are not that. They're not able to transverse the chemical space. I mean, they're kind of set in their ways, and I looked at the cyclical nature of oil and gas, and then the needs of other people asking me. I was in a restaurant not too long ago, and this guy was saying, hey, I see all these chemical formulas on your computer because I'm working out of there. And he goes, hey, can you make a hood cleaner for restaurants that doesn't burn my employees' eyes? And I went, yeah, it's called maybe eye protection, But it was but he brought up a valid point, and I said, yeah, maybe. I mean, I'll look into it, but I just like being presented with a problem that has a chemical solution. It's a challenge to me. Some people have the challenge of doing a triathlon. Me, I would just drive the whole thing and just, I'm not running. My knees are not good enough. But some, people like challenges, and one of those challenges to me is just trying to come up with a chemical solution that makes life easier. I mean, or your operations easier, or more productive, more profitable, safer.
I love that.
And I don't want to stick it in one spot. I want to be open to everybody. And that's part of being a nomad is, I go where you need me. And, I just like the challenge. I want the opportunity. I thrive on the challenge and finding a solution.
That makes a lot of sense. We're seeing a lot of companies exiting the oil field chemical space. So what's really driving that, and how is that impacting long-term innovation in that sector?
Well, I have an old friend of mine, and he was the owner and CEO of a big chemical blending and chemical company, and outside of Houston, and his thing is it's just the oil business. It's starting to get cutthroat. This kind of ties into the ethics of it, that people are fighting over price. They're kind of, I guess, I want to say, like, stretching the capabilities of what they're able to do, and they just wanted something that was more secure, more you could plan for it. It was what's the word that I'm looking for? It was that it wasn't so cyclical. It was, oh, we know this is going to happen third quarter. We know this is going to happen fourth quarter. First quarter is winter. So, in agriculture, maybe you're not planting as much because there's snow on the ground, but April showers bring May flowers. So that's when we put the fertilizer down. So that's what they went into. A lot of them are going into agriculture, HI&I. People are becoming more cognizant of what's in their hand wash or their hand soap, or mothers don't want to put I don't know, certain products in their children's hair when they wash their hair. So a lot of these chemical companies that have that capability moved into other areas, and I think that's kind of left a vacuum in the oil and gas business, and especially with the advent of, with Tesla and battery storage, more people are getting into that.
Right.
Lithium mining and finding ways to get raw materials for the batteries, and people are going into that, and it's just starting to leave a vacuum. And in that vacuum, you have companies that will do well, and you also have companies that will kind of take advantage of the vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of goes into the ethics of it, that, oh yeah, we can do that, and you don't know the full story.
Yeah, let's actually kind of probably double click on that, right? Kind of talking about ethics, maybe specifically in the oil field, but maybe what's one of like the worst examples that you've seen, whether it's on the ethics base, whether it's data transparency or, stretching capabilities. I'm just curious, like, I'm sure you've seen a lot, and maybe like what's one of the worser examples you've seen?
Oh, well, I've had companies in the past, and being on the service side for 3-4 years, I've had companies come to me and I've asked them, hey, look, I need a solution for XYZ. And they say, okay, well, here's our product 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what's the active content of it? Oh, well, it's, 20%. Oh, okay. And the price point is $10 a gallon. I'm just picking easy numbers. And you just kind of go, oh, that's a little bit high. Oh, well, we can work with you. Okay. And they come down, and then I take the product, and I notice that the product's a different color or a different viscosity, and they don't realize who they're talking to. I mean, I'm not the brightest person in the world, but I'm not a dummy, and I take that product and I go to a friend of mine at the lab, and he goes, oh man, this isn't 20% active. This is like 12. And I'm like, so they cut it. So what they'll do is they'll cut it by 50%, lower the cost by 25%, and then tell you, oh, you just got to use, the same amount or double. But the procurement supply chain person looks at it and says, oh, okay, well, we're getting a lower unit cost. But it's kind of like that thing. What's that three, is it good? Is it fast? And is it cheap? And that's that you can only pick 2 or 3. You can't have all 3. So you want it good and fast, it ain't going to be cheap. You want it fast and cheap, it ain't going to be good. You want it good and cheap, it isn't going to be fast.
I love this theory. Can we drill into it a little bit? So like, why does
Sure.
this rule break down? And like, how often does that happen in the chemical world?
All the time, all the time, all the time. I've had people come to me and go, this stuff will turn, horse shit into gold, and it's like, come on, man. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, and that's part of the ethics of it is that the people, they I mean, I don't even know how to say this respectfully. I'm trying to think about how to do it, but I mean,
You just say it as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had chemical
Okay.
salespeople come to me and say, this product will cure whatever you want and get rid of the paraffin. And it's like, dude, you're full of shit, man. Come on.
I mean, call it what it is.
Yeah. And I said, I've just looked at your SDS and you're telling me it's water-based. I mean, what is that going to do to paraffin? I mean, you ever stuck a candle in water? It doesn't do anything. All you're doing is wasting time. You're wasting my time. And now you're coming, oh, well, let me talk to the lab. So and part of it is that we have to, in the chemical business, we have to start also communicating with the customer and saying, look, man, we need to be transparent. We need to be honest here. I know that you want something good, you want it fast, and you want it cheap. It's not going to happen. If you want it to be good and you want it to be fast, it's not going to be cheap. All right? It's going to cost you. Now, I'm not going to sit there and, steal your wallet from you, but I'm telling you, if you want it to work, it's not going to be cheap. Unfortunately, I mean, I wish it could be, but tariffs, a lot of these chemicals we can't make in the U.S. because of EPA regulations. One of those being polyacrylamide FR. I know everybody says, oh, we have the best polyacrylamide. No, you don't. You buy it from S&F, Chimera, or BASF, or you import it from China. Don't tell me that you make your own polyacrylamide. I know you don't. So, it might be your surfactant package that makes your FR a lot better than everybody else's, but don't come to me and go like, I make it in my backyard. No, you don't. But, we need to start being more transparent as an industry with the end user and saying, look, you get to pick 2 out of 3, good, fast, or cheap. And, you want it fast and cheap, it's not going to be good. You're going to be using a lot of it. And unfortunately, I don't think they really understand that, but we need to start communicating that as chemical companies. We need to be more forthcoming with the customer and say, hey, this is the truth. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, and I think a lot of times people try to, bend that and, oh yeah, it'll do everything and it's great. And then all of a sudden, I've had the experience. You do this project and then you call them and I say, hey, look, this isn't working like the way you told me it would. And they say, oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe you just need to use a little bit more. And it's like, well, no, that's not what we talked about. It's not what we agreed upon. You told me that it was going to do this. What's happening? Oh, well, unforeseen circumstances, force majeure, and it's like, come on, I don't operate that way. If my product is going to work, it's going to work. You tell me this, these are the parameters it's going to work. If it doesn't work, I need to know that it doesn't work because then I need to fix my end, not your end. It's my problem. And I think chemical companies do that the wrong way. They point the finger at the customer. No, the chemical company messed up. Yep. I messed up. I need to fix it. It's not your problem. It's my problem. Mm-hmm. That's how I operate.
Mm-hmm. And, kind of like I'm a Neanderthal when it comes to this. When I'm thinking all this chemistry stuff, one hand I'm thinking of Walter White from Breaking Bad, but usually I'm just thinking of like a bartender, mixing drinks. Like I know I'm like grossly oversimplifying that, but like walk us through
hey, cheers, yeah.
Here we go.
It is water. Don't worry about it. It's all water. I know people are probably thinking like, no, it's not. It is. It's water.
But I know when, Jeremy, when we were catching up before the show, I think you had a story about, some chemical mix that, had gone wrong, something with hair dye. Just like share that with us.
Oh, jeez. Well, I mean, everybody can see this white is not dyed, but yeah. So, in an attempt to look younger, I decided to dye this beautiful specimen right here. It's terrible. It's terrible, man. Anyway, I decided to dye it one time, and I forgot. I think it was like my wife's, like a friend's wedding or something, or like a niece's wedding or something like that. And I said, I'm gonna go dye it, and so I can look younger when I see everybody. And so I went to a salon. I didn't do it myself. I went to a salon, which is pretty bad, me saying I went to a salon. But
hey, if you would have done it, you probably would have done it better.
Oh, who knows?
You'd know the chemicals.
But yeah. So I put it. So they put it on my face, and there I am, and I'm sitting there for like 20 minutes, and I'm going. She told me that was only supposed to be on for like 5, and they were going to wash it out. What's going on here? And she tells me, I got caught up because I was doing a perm for somebody or whatever she was doing, and let's wash it out. And she washed it out, and everything looked, and I looked in the mirror, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's good enough. And she says, just wash it a couple more times and the darkness will go away. I looked like a porn star. All right. I mean, it was jet black.
Oh, man.
I mean, it didn't even match. I looked terrible.
It looked like me with short hair.
I looked awful. I looked at myself. I got home. My wife goes, what in the hell? She's like, you can't wear that. And I went, well, it's not like I have a choice. It's not like I'm wearing it. I can take it off, I mean, so anyway, I decided to shave it off. And then when I shaved it off, I realized that, it had stained my skin. So I looked like I had like a 5 o'clock shadow. It was awful. I mean, it was an awful experience. I mean, it was funny. I mean, I look back at it now, but I mean, and then some people in between me shaving it and having it done were like, hey, look at you. You look like Ron Jeremy. And I'm like, oh, shut up.
Some would take that as a compliment, maybe.
No, I didn't take it. I mean, I just went like, okay, come on. This is terrible. But that's when I said like, okay, I gotta get rid of this. And then I remember sitting there, I shaved it, and then I started using nail polish to try to get like the ink off my skin or the dye off my skin, and it worked.
Oh no.
Yeah. So to all the gentlemen out there, if you decide to dye your beard, maybe you should just go for Ben or do it yourself. Do not invest in a salon.
And also, chemistry matters, right? Like, it matters what you're doing with those chemicals.
You got to know how to apply it. I mean, don't go up to somebody and just say, hey, this is what you use. Well, how do I apply it? I don't know. I don't care, And that's another thing that, in the business is that the service, we need service. The service sucks. Mm-hmm. I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the chemical vendor side. I've also been on the energy service side. And when you ask a vendor, for some information, let me get back to the lab. Okay, well, how long is that going to take? Well, they're out for, Chick-fil-A hour. And it's like, wait, they're doing what?
What?
No, but I'm on the well site right now. I need kind of an answer. And I usually 99% of the time I knew the answer anyway, but I just wanted to hear it from a third party just to, make sure. But I sometimes find in the chemical business, sometimes service just really sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it. I think the manufacturers, they want to hide secrets from their sales staff so they don't take it somewhere else. But all that does is make their customer service poor.
Yeah. So the education part is really important. And I love that, what you guys are doing at Nomad, where you are really creating that transparency and building that trust in the relationship and, really educating your clients. I think that's fantastic. But so Jeremy, we are going to start to wrap this up. But we have loved having you on this. It was a masterclass, right? From ethics and operations to the cocktail analogies to chemistry gone wrong.
To my beard problem. Yeah.
But I love
everybody.
I love that real insight that, you've kind of given us into this. If somebody wants to dig a little deeper into what you guys are doing at Nomad, where should they go? How can they find out more?
Oh, just go to the website, www.nomadchemical.com. You can email us at nomad@nomadchemical.com or give us a phone call, 855-NOMAD-4U.
I love that.
We are wandering all over the place. So I will be in a town near you in the near future. So just reach out to us and let us know how we can help. I mean, there's no project too big, too small, no industry bias. I don't, you want me to make a product that cleans the side of your house? Tell me. It's the challenge. That's what we want. We want the challenge.
Well, that's really awesome, Jeremy. We really appreciate the time today. And so till next time, we'll keep in touch, and everyone just make sure to keep it shaly.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening to OGGN, the world's largest and most listened to podcast network for the oil and energy industry. If you like this show, leave us a review and then go to OGGN.com to learn about all our other shows. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter. This show has been a production of the Oil and Gas Global Network.